In today's video, I want to show how you can paint foxgloves in watercolors. They are one of my favourite flowers and I can't wait to grow my own one day. Last year there were so many that inspired me at the Chats with Flower show, and you can actually watch my experience there as I vlogged it, so I'll link to that video here and in the description box. Today I'll be using watercolour, but you can use a similar technique with gouache, acrylic and even oil. And I'd also really like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Whilst many of us are in lockdown, this can be the perfect time to explore that creative side of our mind. I'm really passionate about how being creative can have such a huge impact on our mental health, which with everything that's going on in the world right now is more important than ever. And that's why I'm really happy to be working with Skillshare today. If you're looking for some inspiration, or you would love to take a class in painting, ceramics, creative writing, or even setting up an online business, now is the time to do it. Skillshare is an online learning platform with thousands of different classes that you can watch and learn at your own pace. A brand new class that I'm really excited to watch is Watercolor in the Woods, a beginner's guide to painting the natural world, which is a class by an illustrator named Rosalie. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month, so it's such an affordable way to learn new skills. And because Skillshare is sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description box will get a 2-month premium membership trial for free. So a huge thank you to Skillshare. So first of all, I've just done a very basic light layer and sort of mapping out where I want the petals to be. Now it can be really helpful to use a reference photo to not necessarily copy, but almost just to get an idea of the structure of the petals and to see where the shadows lie. That can be really helpful, because often we can paint what we think a flower looks like rather than the reality of what it is we're actually seeing, and that can sort of trick the eyes and trick the mind. So that's why reference photos are really beneficial. But if you don't have one to hand, you can just copy along with what I'm doing on the video. And I like to keep almost like a playful sense in my paintings and not to be too structured, so I don't take things too seriously, and with my details I don't focus a lot on them. I more sort of go with the feel of a painting, and you know, sometimes that does end up in mistakes, but that's okay because it's all part of the learning process. So now that the first layer is down, which is obviously very basic, I'm going to go over now and add in some deeper shadows of the pinks and the purples, but I'm also going to add in a few other colours, maybe a yellow ochre and maybe a bit more green. So what I'm just going to do is build up the contrasts and build up the different colours so that there's just hints of different colours in there. This is a very intuitive part, so if you're painting along, then go with the colours that you feel like you want to see in your painting. You don't have to copy the same ones that I'm using. And this is really where you can experiment and have quite a bit of fun with it. So once I've got my main structure of my petals, I'm going to go in with a smaller brush and taking some dark green, I'm just going to almost add the bones to the flower. So this is going to be the stalk and the little bits of leaves coming off of it. I guess some people would start with this step, but for me, because the colour can be quite dark, I like to put the petals in first so that I can really see the flow and the sense of direction that it needs to go in. And my colour palette here is just a mixture of all the different colours that I have lying around that I've just squeezed into my palette tray. I don't want to be too specific with brands here because obviously with the current climate of things, I would just really love it if you guys can paint with whatever it is that you can get your hands on. So any sort of paint lying around or any sort of art materials will be really good. It's not a time to be worrying about what brands we're using and whether it's the best, most expensive materials. Right now, this practice is for our own health, and that's what I want to focus on in today's video. I feel like that's very often a focus of all my videos, really, is not to create, you know, a beautiful, perfect piece of artwork that could go into a museum. This is about self-examination, but also a place to be yourself and to feel accepted. And I've said it before, but often I feel like my sketchbook is sometimes the only, I won't say person, sometimes the only place that I can let all of myself onto it and it won't judge me. And so that's what I want you guys to experience as well. So once I've done that stalk, I'm just going to sort of go in and add almost like background flowers. So I'm not going to focus too much on these. These are just light washes of colour that are just going to bulk it up a little bit. And then once that's dry, and this is the fun part, I'm going to go over with a dark purple and just dot some very light marks, which is very often like a signature part of a foxglove. And what I really love about this part is that it really ties the painting in together because you get the light washes and brush strokes. It's not very tidy, it's all very sort of painterly, I suppose would be the word. And then when you add just small details, it sort of really refocuses the drawing and gives you something to really grab onto when you look at it. Okay, so now I'm just taking like a pinky purple and I'm going to reiterate those shadows and also sort of add a bit of definition with the petals. I just felt like it needed not an outline necessarily, but just a little bit more depth in some of those shadows to really add a little bit more contrast and suggest a little bit more to the eye. And I really love these colours together with the purples, the greens, and also that hint of yellow or like a yellow ochre. I just think those colours work really nicely together. Okay, so I think that is it for the main flower. So I'm just going to go ahead now and do the same thing for a few other flowers. So I'll let you guys just enjoy the process of it coming together.